Do you ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels, constantly pursuing a life with no chance of improvement? You're not alone. Everyone has that idea of wealth deep down inside them. You will find people oppressed both by society and by the thought that only an elite class can be successful. But what if I told you that even you do not have to wait for this path to financial success to happen only to the elites? In this video we will unfold a spider web of relative riches, understanding how your head and your wallet can work together towards a better tomorrow. Here in the first episode we will discuss the complexity of the various manifestations of wealth and historical background that has been shaping our view on the concept of richness. Here is what you will learn about yourself and the ways which are effective for personal development, risk-taking, discipline, and other guidelines. Well, then, are you ready for nothing less than applying what has been presented to you and growing your ability to believe that you can indeed change your life for the better in terms of financial stability? So come and follow this great discovery with us. About the concept of wealth, it has to be noted that getting a hold of it sometimes depends on how one perceives it and what it is that he or she wants to achieve. For many people, true wealth is equal to being in the top 20% of the population in terms of quality of life. This is not just sitting back with an account full of fat, it is also having good healthy to check on, good education for the kids, and other opportunities for personal growth. Suppose that a man lives in a small house but works and lives surrounded by relatives and friends. He is happier than a man like a billionaire, who is lonely and often worried. The issue here is the key factor which is distinguishing what is wealth and what is not. The first one is money and the second one is the quality of the life and the people one has. Thus, if you strive for the improvement of the quality of life, you should consider which parts of the life make you feel rich. From this perspective, it becomes possible to proceed towards asking why, for various technical reasons, few people will ever get there according to statistics. From a statistical point of view, it may be difficult to take, but only 20% of the population will ever be able to be considered as being wealthy. This is not an arbitrary number. It's about the status of relative well-being and the system of relations that entails it. Thus, there is significant stress concerning money, because people remain confined in a role of a consumer with no possibility to affect changes in their lives. For example, a man could rummaging day and night at a workplace where they have no opportunity to be promoted, like a hamster running endlessly on the wheel. Though it may come as an unwelcome realization, it is equally useful for it to remind everyone that there is nothing wrong with having to struggle through some challenges one after another. They only escape when they find information and opportunities that others least expect or will consider to go for. Hence, how would anyone transform his situation to escape this statistic? The answer lies in what has been said and realized in terms of the need to have a change at some point in history. On statistical evidence, it is bitter truth that hardly 20% of the people will ever be classified as rich. Such is not a random number. It reflects the idea of relative affluence and the social relationships that define it. The majority of the population becomes caught up in a web of economic coercion, which most of the time stems from their inability to access money or meaningful change in their lives. For example, a person can spend years at a low-wage workplace where promotion is nearly impossible, and one feels like a hamster that runs in a wheel indefinitely. While this may sound discouraging, it also acts as a reminder as to perseverance when faced with adversity. Those who manage to escape victims have to look for knowledge and opportunities that are usually considered insignificant. Therefore, what can one do to become part of that percentage that escape this statistic? Apparently, the answer is that people needed to learn from their history and believe that change was possible. If consumers are not able to access enough resources, inequality in the distribution of wealth is inexorable, and it is a factor that people easily disregard. Factors such as culture, infrastructure, and education will determine whether or not a person will gain wealth. For instance, consider two individuals. One educated from childhood in an environment with proper education facilities and other resources such as mentorships, and the second one who only has few opportunities in the educational sector and the employer world. The former may stand better chances to become a provider for their family than the latter, who would be locked out by systemic constraints. This is not luck, but it is understanding the role that these externalities play in determining one's trajectory. This means that you should find ways of making yourself better so that when an opportunity presents itself, you are able to capitalize on it, through online courses, membership in groups, or local seminars. Choosing such opportunities is, therefore, effective since it works towards developing resilience, as well as creating avenues for a superior kind of life, thus fostering financial success in the future. The personal cost of achieving financial freedom mostly requires a sacrifice, discipline, and willingness to learn. Almost everybody who has achieved something great in their lives will think of long hours they spent studying at night or performing other jobs in the morning, such as giving up luxury meals or fancy gadgets, and instead set small savings for investment or school fees. This kind of discipline can sometimes be quite a challenge, most of all if you have friends who appear to be enjoying their life's luxuries. However, the ones who think in this way are the ones that are rebuilding and come out on the winning side. One needs also understand where there is progress and growth. It means it has been achieved away from comfort. Therefore, as you seek for better standards of living, then think of what adjustments you are willing to make. Is there something you could do to make yourself more prepared for your goals, or something that you need to stop doing? It may come as quite a shock what some of the answers are. Taking risks is something that most successful people do, and often it comes with a tiny probability of success. There are always individuals who are very hesitant in taking risks because they always fall to failure. However, those who dare take the risk, they end up being pioneers of performance plus bigger returns. Imagine when young people put their all to start a business. Every time the probabilities may look small, but courage leads to large opportunities. For example, let it be an example of a person who has chosen to put all their money into stocks, houses, instead of keeping all their money in a fixed deposit with little or no interest. Such a kind of risk-taking can be rather intimidating, but it is so necessary to improve one's position in financial aspects significantly. The much-needed strategy here is to have a healthy attitude towards risk, similar to how a business owner freezes the market and runs the numbers, and then develops contingency measures. That is why, on the one hand, people work on constructing their strength and, on the other hand, to create the hope of a better life with more chances to succeed. Geography plays a very large role in shaping the amount of wealth a person is able to make, and for the most part people are stuck in their hometowns. Most of us like to be in our own environment, but this can lead into negative consequences. For instance, an individual coming from a poor background or from a rural area, it may come across the task of acquiring high-performance jobs that demand one to move to urban areas an impossible mentality. This is not just a fluidity of moving to go on an adventure. It's to understand that the places may present differing levels of availability to resources and success and striving for personal growth. Against this, people can consider going for work-from-home careers or even conducting an online business which is not restricted by geographical locations. That means if you are using technology, you can make access to markets and networks that were not easily accessible before. Therefore, if someday you wake up and feel bored and locked in the current position, check how you can widen your possibilities. Maybe it is traveling, using social networks for networking, or requesting mentorship from someone who is in a better position than you are. There is certainly a lot to discover around us in the world. The two cardinal virtues are hard work and patience, and many times may be expected to sacrifice in the present for the future. In the modern world of fast and active consumption, where one can buy everything online, including clothes, food, and series on streaming platforms, it is extremely difficult to cope with temptation. While those who develop these qualities get to establish a more stable process that leads them to reach their aims. For instance, think of an individual who saves part of his income to invest in various ventures, rather than using it to feed her extravagance. It is also a way of accumulating wealth for future usage in a time of need, while at the same proving people with positive thinking in everyday pressures. If you want to develop discipline, the first step is to take tiny milestones. This might be as simple as budgeting or spending some hours each week learning new tricks. As you habituate yourself to self-discipline, you can bet that you will be in a position to make decisions that will reflect a better life. From here, you will be right for continuing the next steps to financial liberty. Before proceeding to the second part of our journey, we have to realize how this knowledge can change your life. Are you ready to take action? All the ideas we have seen today, from relative rich to discipline, are actionable insights you can use right now. Just to remind, this is just the beginning. In particular, in the next video, you will learn more of such strategies that we shall see as the key to freeing yourself from the barriers which hinder you. In that case, what would you change from now onwards? So the questions arising here are, how can all these lessons be implemented in order to promote self and family improvement? Before you go, don't miss remembering to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you don't miss when the next part comes. In Synergy, it will be possible to open the doors to financial prosperity and stability. Let's keep moving forward.